From where we are, above the Rongbuk Base Camp, we can recognize the major features of Mallory and Irvine's climb in 1924. They set off on 6th of June, spent the night at Camp 5, continued their climb up the North Ridge to Camp 6 at 27,000 feet. On their summit attempt, they traversed over to the crest of the Northeast Ridge, where 3 obstacles barred their way to the summit. The first step, the second step, and right under the summit pyramid, the third step. Of those, the second step is the most prominent and most difficult. However, in 1933, Irvine's ice axe was found east of the first step. But many people believe that Irvine must have fallen from this point down the north face to the foot of the yellow band where the face flattens out. This assumption was confirmed by the report of a Chinese climber said to have come across the body of a pre-war English climber 10 minutes walk from his tent. The problem is, no one knew where this camp was. So by aligning topographical features of the upper mountain visible in the photograph and projecting these alignments on a map, I determined the position of the Chinese camp. So I believe it's right there in the middle of the north face at 27,000 feet.
With the search area so close to the summit, it only fueled the debate whether Mallory and Irvine made it to the top before they died.
Odell sighting, a good level of credibility. They must have been at least at the second step, if not on the third step. And if they were that high at 1250, they would have stood a very good chance to have made the summit.
I don't agree to pin it all on what Odell saw and when he saw it. I don't know. I think that's loose for basing this on.
First of all, Odell had very good eyesight. He was a trained observer. He didn't wear spectacles until his 90s. He had very good eyesight. Secondly, we know they had good weather and they had oxygen. Thirdly, we know that this is Mallory's last attempt. You know, he wasn't going to come back to Everest, and I think he just had that impetus to get up over the second step and go.
In my opinion, I think that it's hard to imagine that Mallory could have climbed the second step. I recall that it was very steep and intimidating and difficult. However, he was a superb climber for his day, and there certainly is a chance that he could have done it. I can't imagine that Irvine could have done it.
I could see myself getting exactly that situation. Get up the crux of the climb, hanging on the very upper part of that second step and going, oh, what have I done? Because it's all loose up there. And at that point, what do you do? I don't know. I guess you go for the top and hope something happens. Hope there's a better way down. You know, you don't just jump off a cliff right there. So, might as well give it a shot. So, of course, I made it. Any rational thinking man would know that he made it. You guys who don't think he made it are just all tied up in knots. Just relax, he made it.
Everest is a sacred mountain for Tibetans. They call it Chamalangma, which means Mother Goddess of the Earth. So before they leave base camp, the climbers and Sherpas join together in a time-honored puja ceremony to placate the mountain gods and bring good fortune to the expedition.
Very good. Good luck. Good luck for you, my friend.
The route taken from base camp by modern expeditions is the same as that pioneered by George Mallory and his fellow climbers in the 1920s. The climbers trek 3 miles south down the Rongbuk Valley before turning east towards the East Rongbuk Glacier. Mallory's team stopped overnight in the side valley, but today most expeditions continue further up the glacier and spend the night at intermediate camp. The second day involves a long trek up the East Rongbuk Glacier, past the old Camp 2 used in Mallory's day, and on to Camp 3, or Advanced Base Camp. Camp 3 is situated at the head of the East Rongbuk Glacier, at 21,000 feet. From here, the route goes up the North Col to Camp 4 at 23,000 feet, then up the snow ridge to Camp 5, and further still to Camp 6, perched at 27,000 feet. A few hundred yards to the west is where the climbers expect to find the body of the dead English climber, discovered in 1975. By early April, the climbing team have reached Advanced Base Camp and are preparing to tackle the massive ice climb up the North Col. This is where the real climbing begins. The climb up the North Col is the beginning of a long stage of moving equipment, food and oxygen up to Camp 4. And then further up the mountain to the higher camps. It's a laborious and exhausting process for the climbers. But the exercise and the time spent at high altitude is an essential part of acclimatization and will enable them to go higher up the mountain in the weeks to come.
We've been here for a month now, and it's really paying off, all that acclimatization, taking our time, all the time we've spent sitting around at ABC and our carries up to here, and really paid off. Gosh, it's 3 times, if not 5 times as easy as it was the first time.
Compared to the first time up here, it's amazing how much stronger you feel, and it just goes to prove that the old adage that the best thing for altitude is time really rings true. And there's not much that one can do to make it better than just spending time at the various elevations and underachieving so you can overachieve later.
Acclimatization is an uncertain process. Lower down the mountain, Graham Hoyland has suddenly been taken ill at Advanced Base Camp. He's immediately put on oxygen and taken down to a lower altitude. But he now faces a difficult decision. Either he stays on the expedition and runs the risk of his condition becoming much more serious, or he gives up his ambition of a lifetime and leaves base camp altogether.
As I approached the tents, the left side of my mouth went numb, and then I lost all feeling my left leg, my left foot, and I thought, oh no, I'm having a cerebral hemorrhage, a stroke.
I got to the tent, sat down, had tea, felt a bit better, but in the morning my left foot was still numb, and it was decided I should come down on oxygen and return here to base camp. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. I mean, I've been planning this trip since I was a boy of 12. You know, we've got a very strong team here. You know, I get up to 21,500 feet, which is a small height, really, and I have problems. I was really surprised, because I've not had trouble going to altitude before. Indeed, I went to the summit 6 years ago with no particular problems. So I'm extremely disappointed. I just hope that everybody else can carry on and find what we have to find.